Hello everyone, Mark McElroy from Patriot Electronic Security Systems here. Today we have another how-to video for you. We're going to be terminating coaxial cable. We'll be using F connectors for those of you putting together a home entertainment system or similar audio-video project. And for those of you interested in CCTV work, we'll also do some terminating using BNC connectors. Also, as I go through the demonstration, I will be talking about some of the tools I use, and I'll give you my thoughts on them. So without further ado, let's get right into it. We're going to start the demonstration by showing you how to prep RG6 cable. And when I say prep, what I mean by that is we're going to show you how to strip it and prepare it for termination. We're going to use a coaxial stripping tool. This is a Klein stripping tool. According to Klein, this will strip RG6, RG6 quad, and RG59 cable. I think it does an excellent job on RG6 and RG6 quad. I don't believe it's really designed for RG59. But let me show you how to use this. It has a depth guard on the tool. Basically, the cable is a plunger. You press the plunger and you push the coaxial cable into the tool. And this depth guard keeps the cable from going all the way through. To specification, there's going to be two cuts on this cable. One cut will be the first cut, or the cut closest to the end, shall I say, will go all the way down to the copper connector, and that should be about a ½ inch in depth. Then another ½ inch cut above that should only go down to the shielding of the dielectric. This tool does all that in one motion. So let me put my depth guard in place, put my cable in. And the way you use this is once the cable's in the tool and you've released the plunger, you basically just twist the tool a few rotations forward and a few rotations back. And once you do that, you can pull the tool off, and as you can see, you have a perfectly stripped coaxial cable. The next thing you want to do is you want to take the outer layer of shielding, this stranded shielding, and you want to push it back. You want to push it back onto the PVC jacket of the cable. And we do that for two reasons. One is when we do put a connector on it, it will allow the connector to get a better bite, a better grip on the cable. Second, and more important, is if one of these little miscellaneous strands of shielding was to touch and stay in contact with the center conductor while you use this cable, I can almost guarantee you're going to get some type of video interference. So you want to push back that entire outer sleeve of shielding. Now the first connector I want to show you is probably the easiest connector to install. It's called a Twiston F Connector. And all you do is you insert the end of the cable into the back end of the connector and you start to twist. The inside of the connector is threaded. Let me show you that on another connector I have here. I'm not sure if you can see that, but the inside of the connector is threaded. And as you twist the connector onto the cable, the connector pulls itself down. And basically you want to pull it down until about 1/16 of an inch of the copper conductor protrudes past the edge of the connector. That should also put that white dielectric even with the back end of the connector that you see there. Now, as you thread it on, it's going to get real tight, so you probably want to use a pair of pliers just to make it a little easier on your fingers. And just keep twisting that cable. You take a look at it and you see I still have a ways to go. Just keep twisting the cable, grabbing it firmly so you don't damage the cable. We're almost there. Now you see what's happening here? This is why I don't like Twiston F connectors. You see how the cable is actually twisting here? There's a twist in this cable. There's not much you can do about it because you do have to get that dielectric down to the back end of the connector, and you do have to get that copper conductor about a 1/16 up past the front of the connector. And I think we're just about there now. We're just a little shy. Now I got to tell you, before today I've never tried a Twiston connector. I use compression connectors, and we'll get into that later in the video. I'm a little surprised. I would have thought this would be a little looser fit, but I got to tell you, it's a real tight fit. I don't know if I'd be able to pull it off just by yanking it. One thing it's not is weather resistant. Being a Twiston connector, even though this is a tight fit, it is certainly not water resistant. I would not install this in an outdoor environment. The compression connectors we use are indeed water resistant, moisture resistant, and that's why that's all we install. The reason I included the Twiston connectors in this video is because they really don't require special tools. Basically all you need to do is strip the cable with a cable stripper, and even that not everybody has in their tool bag, but that could be substituted with that could be substituted with a pair of electrician scissors or even a straight edge blade. It's just that this job makes it a little easier. And then all you do is twist the cable on. But I am surprised. It is a tighter seal. Let me try pulling on this. No, you are not going to pull this off. It is a tight seal. I can't say it's weather resistant, and if you're limited as far as the tools that you have available, this will work. This is the way to go. Another way to terminate coaxial cable is with a compression connection. And this is the only connection we use when we do work for our clients. The reason being is, as its name implies, when you install this connection on the cable by putting it down over the end, you compress it. You actually squeeze it together with a compression tool, a special compression tool. And I'll demonstrate that in a minute. And once you do that, you form a weather-resistant, very, very strong seal around the perimeter of the cable. And that is the reason why it's the only connection we use for coaxial cable. Now, when you insert the F connector on the end of this RG6 cable, I'm not going to kid you, it's going to be a real tight fit, and you're going to have to push like heck to get it on. I've seen people in the industry use what's called a flaring tool on the end of these cables to help insertion go a little easier. I've tried them, and I must admit I haven't had a lot of luck with them. But you can find a few videos on YouTube on how to properly use them. I just never found them to make the job any easier. So we are going to just insert this end on. We're going to push as hard as needed, and basically you have to push until the dielectric, the white dielectric, meets the back end of the F connector. Also, at that point, the copper conductor will protrude past the front of the F connector by about a 1/16 of an inch. So we're just going to give it a push, and we are there. It is now ready for compression. I got my compression tool. There are different size dies back here. I believe this is the size die for this connector. Now you'll notice I have a push wheel here, and this push wheel is adjustable. I could rotate it back, and I could rotate it forward. You want to put your F connector where the copper conductor goes into the hole in the push wheel. And then you want to thumb this push wheel up until the back edge of the compression connector is in the die, almost against the back wall. Once that's done, you press the compression tool down, and I'm watching here. It's hard to see on the camera, but I can actually see when the back sleeve meets the front of the connector, and I know that I'm done. In this case, I can go all the way with the compression tool, and I now have one very nice compressed end on my coaxial cable. The final type of connector I'd like to talk about is a BNC connector. And this particular BNC connector is a compression type connector. BNC connectors are used for cameras in the closed circuit television industry. Unlike the F connector, they actually have their own conductor in the center of the connector. I know you can't see that, so I'm going to superimpose a picture in the corner of the screen. That'll give you a close-up view of that. And basically, they come in different sizes, like the previous connectors. If you're using an RG6 cable, or in this case an RG6 quad, you need an RG6 quad connector. If you're using an RG59 cable, you need an RG59 connector. And basically what you do is you just slide the connector over the end of the cable. It is a tight fit, so you may have to work it just a little bit. You could almost feel it slide into place in the ferrule inside. Once you do that, you know the cable is seated properly. Once it's seated properly, you get your compression tool. You set up the proper die on the end. And again, you want to make sure that conductor goes into the hole in the push wheel. I'm going to have to back this up a little for the connector to fit. There we go. And once the connector is in the tool, I can press it. And you'll notice there's a brown area here. Again, may be hard to see. I have a brown background. But once this brown area is covered by the outer sleeve of the conductor, you know you've compressed enough. And I'm going to stop there. Had I backed the wheel off a little more, I could have closed this compression tool all the way. It is possible, if you have your push wheel up too far, depending on the connector you're using, it is possible to over-compress these connections, and you'll actually damage the outer ring of the connector. But this is a properly seated, properly compressed BNC connector on an RG59 cable, on an RG6 quad cable. Well, that about wraps up our discussion on terminating coaxial cable. If you have any questions regarding the information in this video, please feel free to go to our website's Contact Us page and drop us an email. Patriot Electronic Security Systems is an electronic security system provider based in Westchester County, New York. For more information on who we are and what we do, please feel free to visit our website at www.patriotsecurity.com. Thank you for watching and stay safe.